It will be a busy day for the old Blue Raider Network, being on Wednesday. Midweek football tonight from Floyd Stadium as the Blue Raiders take on Missouri State for only the second time ever and the first time since 1986. Kickoff at 6:30 tonight. Tickets available, and the weather, although we had rain yesterday, it's going to be football weather. It's going to be about 72 at kickoff and dropping into the upper or lower 60s by the time the game is over. So bring a pullover, and it's going to be football weather tonight. So with that, welcoming in, she actually returned for a visit. So Mary Beth Asbury, the chair of the Communication Studies Department at MTSU, and I always have to get that straight because there are two communication areas at MTSU, and both do totally different things.
We do. So we study the human interaction part of communication. We teach things like interpersonal, and we have a class on romantic relationships, which will teach you how to choose the right partner and not get a divorce when you're in that marriage.
Let me take a few notes here.
Yeah. And we have classes on things like employee relationships and, leader-member relationships in an organization. So at the heart of what we do is we study relationships as well as persuasion. And then you have communications with an S, which is your mass media and those sorts of things. So some universities combine those two programs, and a lot of universities separate them. So it just kind of depends.
Yeah, but at MTSU, both do a great job, and
Yes.
both are on their own track. And I thought in today's climate, this would be a great an opportunity to have you back since we were here a year ago, and we're gonna go over some of the same topics that we did a year ago, but we'll also talk about a few other things. And I made some notes, but the on some of the different areas that you deal with and that the people in your department deal with. But right off the bat, why are people so mean to each other these days?
That is
mean talk.
$1 million question, I think.
If you could figure that out, they gave out the Nobel Prizes earlier this week. You would have gotten one of those.
I think a lot of it has to do, frankly, with the advent of everybody communicating online. A lot these days, when we communicate online, we often have what's called a disinhibition effect, meaning that we tend to be braver online than we would face-to-face. We would say things to people that we would never say to their face because we're hiding behind a screen. And then also, we've gotten to a point in society where everybody just feels like their opinion needs to be expressed all the time, that everybody wants to hear what you have to say. And that is not necessarily true. We need to understand that when we say things, there may be consequences to those things, but also, what do you value more, being right or the relationship? Or is what you're going to say hurt people that maybe don't say that? But basically think about how your words and actions are going to affect other people. And that's, I think, the key that's missing here.
There's a little bit of a superiority complex in there too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Since we're going down that path, we'll kind of head on down that path just a little bit. And so much of it, obviously, in this time of our lives, is political. And you can just watch a congressional hearing.
Yes.
And I'll use a word from my elementary days. Their deportment is horrible, and on both sides.
Yeah.
Whether you're whether you're the one being grilled, or whether you're a congressman or senator, or it doesn't matter which party you're affiliated with. There's so much gotcha that's going on, and it's flabbergasting to me.
Right. And so you're going to see your everyday people also taking on that gotcha attitude and, always trying to one-up each other and those things. And that just leads to kind of a hostile environment among people. I mean, I remember back in the day, I'm shaking my old lady fist when it was, oh, you think this way, I think this way, okay. it was just fine. But now it's like people associate bad personality traits with people's political beliefs, and that's something that I think has really been a detriment to our society.
Yeah. Well, and this is not a political science interview by any stretch at all, but it seems like that there could be more things accomplished if the temperature was toned down.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people get into politics because they want to help people, they want to solve problems. And I think, we kind of get away from that when we're doing so much, calling out the other party or calling out the other individual. And, so focusing on problem solving and actually helping people with issues, I think would do us a lot of good.
In that area, and like I said, I wanted to hit this and be done with it because there's so much other stuff we can talk about. But how do you define the line between free speech and harmful rhetoric?
That's a hard line to define.
It moves.
Yes,
moves.
It does. And so, when we look at things that are we can prosecute. So things like hate speech. And so hate speech is speech that denigrates another person's self-concept, so their core identity, and often denigrates things they can't help, like a disability status or the color of their skin. But there's also speech that incites, like you cannot yell fire in a crowded theater, and so, again, the line moves. But one of the things I always tell my students is, yes, you have free speech, but you need to consider the consequences of that speech. You're not free from the consequences. And I think what we have today, and part of the reason that line is shifting, is simply because people are very reactive rather than thoughtful in terms of saying things. So people just want to, react very quickly without really thinking through, like, what would be the consequences of this. And so, like, one of the things I tell my students and that I practice myself is that if something ever frustrates me or angers me, I don't respond for 24 hours. I let it sit because I need to be thinking clearly. And I need to be able to think, if I do X, what is going to happen with Y? And I can't do that in the moment. I always tell my students, I never say yes to anything if I am angry, hangry, stressed, or even if I'm over-caffeinated, because sometimes if I'm over-caffeinated, everything. Yeah. Yes, exactly. I say yes to too many things. And, I challenge.
That's how she ended up here today.
That's exactly right. So, I try to practice that myself, but I tell them, think about your emotional state when you are going to post something or when you're going to say something, and just take a step back and think, what's going to happen if I say this? And sort of the 24-hour rule, for some people, 6 hours may be great, or even like 30 minutes may be great. But sort of taking a step back and just not being reactive, I think, is going to help a lot there.
Well, the comedian Ron White, in one of his bits where he got arrested, he said, I had the right to remain silent. I just didn't have the ability. Right. and I think that is a pandemic these days of not having the ability. That leads into cancel culture because somebody says something. Well, they've got to be fired, or we've got to boycott, or we've got to do this or that. And, a lot of times I think what you mentioned, the 24-hour rule could be so helpful because I think one of in the internet and social media, they tend to be the culprit that gets blamed a lot because, you can, again, we'll shake our old people fist that, we used to have to wait till the next day till the paper came out, or, what was on the news either that night or whatever. Now something happens, it's out there immediately, and it just hangs out there. Right. And we obviously we saw that situation that manifested itself on campus right here and on campuses and other places across this country. And, what lessons are to be learned?
Again, I would say don't be reactive. Try to wait if there is something that you really want to respond to that has your emotions, even if you are overly happy or you're overly frustrated or you're angry, pause, take a breath. I think lessons to be learned as well include, not everybody thinks the same way you do. And so you need to understand what your position is. You need to understand what you represent. And, I tell my students that when they are out and about and they are wearing things that represent the university, even though they don't necessarily work here, they are still representing the university. And so, if you decide to go to a restaurant and act up and be rude, people are going to associate that with, and you're wearing an MTSU shirt, they're going to associate that with MTSU. So you need to
that bunch of hooligans out there
exactly.
or whatever.
So you always need to be careful about, and recognize that you're representing yourself, you're representing your place of work, and you're representing, sort of your background and the people you come from as well.
That's right. And in pulling a word that social media has invented, and it's the word influencers. If you're a public figure or an influencer now, what you say can have an effect on your brand, your income,
absolutely,
all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Always be careful. Just, if there is something in your head you feel absolutely has to come out, maybe tell a friend before you put it online so that you can get some reaction as to is this appropriate? Is this not appropriate? Because again, not every thought that comes into your head needs to be expressed right then at that moment. So sometimes you need to read the room and see, think about, I'm saying this, how is this going to affect other people? And is this appropriate for the time? Right. Yeah.
Well, and that being said, MTSU was awarded, they've received a recognition and an honor for being one of the best free speech campuses in the country. As a matter of fact, there were three. MTSU, UT, and Vanderbilt all were listed in the top 20 campuses across the country. Talk about the tone that you see that MTSU takes, because what role do you think the university should play in fostering respectful political dialogue in the world we live in today?
I think that what the university is currently doing is actually right on target. I mean, we have lots of opportunities for different groups, different people to speak and give their opinions. Like, for example, our last sort of big speaker for Constitution Day is someone who really kind of toes the line on both sides of politics. And you saw a lot of people coming to that to hear what he had to say. And so, I think things like that, presenting information in an environment where people feel free to express themselves, people were able to ask questions, people were able to interact with him after the presentation and get feedback. I think those things continue to foster that growth.
Yeah, so. and it's kind of interesting because the speaker that was on campus most recently. You saw things online where I agreed with him or I did not agree with him, but it manifested itself in a peaceful way. And that's kind of the goal.
It is. And MTSU does a great job of setting up an environment and a culture that really promotes that. I remember when Mike Pence came, I think it was last year.
He came on Constitution Day.
Yes.
And
And everything was handled so well. It was very clear that everybody is welcome to this event. Everybody, but also the culture
he took some tough questions.
He did. And, and the fact that people were civil, the fact that people could interact with him like he was just, another professor and they had questions, I think that speaks a lot to the culture that we've cultivated there.
Well, and another, too, is I think when you talk about safe environments, you cannot talk about that without talking about what Chief Kopp and the MTSU Police Department do. They proactively help make the environment in those situations, whether it's someone who is more liberal or more conservative. They don't care.
No.
And they try to make that environment more, where people feel like they can be safe and go there and listen and agree or disagree.
And, I think it's important, too, to recognize that MTSU's police force is present on campus just daily. Like, we see them and they interact with us. Like, I remember
when they first got their first bicycles.
Yeah, they our department had a hot chocolate event last February called Calm Feel the Love, right? Because we're calm. And a police officer came and he interacted with us and he got hot chocolate and he took pictures with us and he talked to students. And I thought, this is this just shows that, we trust each other, we are happy to be around each other, and, it's a great environment.
So bottom line, you as a communication professional feel like you're in a good environment on campus.
I do.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, Mary Beth Asbury. She is the chair of communication studies at MTSU, and we will get out of the political realm and talk business and social media and your kids and your family, all of that right here on the Roundtable on WGNS.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at wgnsradio.com.
Donating is easy at America's Thrift Stores. They're proud to partner with Make-A-Wish Middle Tennessee to help grant life-changing wishes for local children battling critical illnesses. When you donate gently used clothing and household items, you're giving more than stuff. You're giving hope. Every donation helps Make-A-Wish bring joy to a child right here in Middle Tennessee. Drop off donations today at the new location in Murfreesboro at the corner of Middle Tennessee and MLK Jr. Boulevard. Learn more at americasthrift.com/Murfreesboro.
This is Chip Walters, and I'm honored to be your 2024 MTAR Realtor of the Year. I'm with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates, and like many of you, I've seen the real estate market shift and change. People often ask, Chip, what's really going on? Well, that's a great question, and I believe in answering with solid, factual data. So let's cut through some of the noise. I invite you to reach out. Let's have a conversation about your real estate goals and the current market trends in your neighborhood. You can find all my contact information at choosechip.net.
For 75 years, Murfreesboro Medical Clinic has been a cornerstone of health and compassion in our community. From our humble beginnings to the advanced, comprehensive care we offer today, our commitment to you has never wavered. With 8 locations across Murfreesboro and Middle Tennessee and over 100 physicians, we continue to provide the highest standard of care. Then, now, and always, your health is our mission.
Junior.
Yep.
Lady?
Yeah, they have it.
Gigantic.
You know it.
What about mega?
Yep, they've got that one too. When it comes to Jumbo Bucks, winning is the name of the game. In fact, Tennessee lottery players win an average of $2.3 million a day on Jumbo Bucks games alone. So find your jumbo-sized fun today. The Tennessee Lottery. Game-changing fun. Please play responsibly.
Jumbo Jumbo?
Oh yeah, they even have that one.
This is Richard Parton, and I'd like to tell you about Adam's Place. We have been here 8 months, and at this point we have not even turned our stove on. No need. They come in every week and change your linen and clean your house, and it's just like a dream, like being on a cruise every day.
This is Terry Deal. Come tour Adams Place and discover living a dream in your senior years.
Good Neighbor Events is brought to you by Old National Bank, the law offices of John Day, and AmeriCare Pest Control.
This is a paid legal ad.
At the law offices of John Day, we take only real cases that make a real difference.
My name is Laura Lynn, and my family needed legal help. The law offices of John Day took the burden really off of my shoulders. Never once did I feel secondary to anything else that was going on.
We want to make a difference in the community we hold so dear. And if you're ever injured, know that we are here for you too. Seriously injured? Call me, John Day.
Now, WGNS Good Neighbor Events. Rutherford County Habitat for Humanity's Cookin' to Build is right around the corner. It'll be Saturday, November the 1st, all around the historic Rutherford County Courthouse on the Murfreesboro Square. That's Saturday, November 1st. But you need to paint your bowls for Cookin' to Build. Go to Color Me Mine in the Avenue of Murfreesboro anytime before October the 15th. That's next week. You'd better hurry. And the Pumpkin Fun Run is this Saturday at Gateway Island here in Murfreesboro. Registration's at 3 o'clock this Saturday afternoon, and the run is at 4. It's free to run. Just bring canned goods that will be donated to Greenhouse Ministries. The Pumpkin Run for all ages. This Saturday with registration at 3 in the afternoon at the reception center at Murfreesboro's Gateway Island. That's over on West College Street, right behind Murfreesboro Medical Clinic. That's this Saturday afternoon. Don't forget the Red Cross is still critically low on blood. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Rutherford weather.
Mainly cloudy this afternoon, high in the mid-70s. Breezy winds. Tonight mainly clear, a low near 49. High of 75 on Thursday. I'm meteorologist Laura Lockwood from the WGNS Rutherford Weather Center. Right now, 67.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. Sharing Change has donated now over $12 million to local nonprofits. Find out how your spare change can make a big impact at sharingchange.org.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Happy Hump Day. Welcome to Wednesday on the Roundtable. WGNS, Chip Walters here with you from Exit Realty, Bob Lamb and Associates, and the Blue Raider Network, and Mary Beth Asbury, friend of the show now, said she's been here twice, and we spent a lot of time on political speech and things like that, but let's kind of get into business. We're going to save family and holiday stuff time here for our last segment, but talk a little bit about in business. If you were going in as a consultant somewhere, what is going to be the number one thing on your list that you're going to talk to? Let's say you're going to go in and consult with a company about how to communicate within the office.
So the first thing I would probably do is I would do some
Not hearing her.
About the company's. There we go. Sorry, cut off. So the first thing I would probably do is I would do some observation and look at the company's culture. And also,
you do that before you went to.
I would. I would try to get some information. Everything from what is the office layout like, to who talks the most in meetings, to who doesn't talk in meetings. And we can say a company's culture is one thing, but that may not be exactly what's being displayed when you go in and actually observe the behavior. And so, I would really try to understand the culture, and then I would get into here are the things you need to do to improve. And so sometimes there's going to be stuff that managers need to do. So be more open to feedback. If you've got a manager who is, I am right and I am always right, and your people are afraid to give any sort of negative feedback for fear of being, characterized as a bad person, that's not going to be a very good organization. People are going to want to leave. People don't like that. And so be open to feedback. But I would also say in terms of employees, or the worker bees and not management, is that they need to be open and honest and transparent. There needs to be a place for them to feel valued. So, everybody talks about low morale, and, it's a problem that lots of workplaces face. And I have found personally in my leadership role that the way to address low morale is to show your employees that they're valued. And, you may not be able to do things like give every single person a raise, but there are little things you can do, like listening to them, like giving them, gifts at the holidays, celebrating birthdays, celebrating accomplishments so that people feel like their work is recognized in some way. If you don't treat your people right, they're not going to treat you right. So
does letting them take a lead role in team meetings sometimes, show that you have a faith in what they're doing?
It does. And I will say too that with small group research, one of the things we find is that if you want your group, no matter what type of group it is, whether they're problem solving, decision making, what have you, if you do not take time in like the first meeting, like for the first 15 minutes and get to know each other personally, you're not going to have good decisions. You're not going to have good problem solving simply because people don't feel like they can be open. So simply taking 15 minutes the first time you all meet to say, hey, how are you? What do you do? What do you like to do for fun? Those types of things create an environment where people feel free to express ideas. And so the more ideas you get, the better the decision, the problem, the solution is going to be, because you start to work more on synergy rather than just, I'm just solving this problem type of stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Obviously, the world changed in 2020, mm-hmm. and the Tuesday morning staff meeting mm-hmm. became the Tuesday morning Zoom call, mm-hmm. and they're still, and it is that. To me, that is, still the best unintended consequence of all
mm-hmm.
of that is it has opened up a whole new world of being able to do things. Mm-hmm. But now we're seeing more and more companies, people have gone back, mm-hmm. less working remotely. Mm-hmm. In your experience, are in-person meetings with teams, groups more effective than the Zoom meetings,
mm-hmm.
or do they all have their place?
I think they all have their place. I think it's going to depend on what you're talking about and how engaged and involved you want everyone to be in the meeting. Obviously, on a Zoom meeting, it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to start doing other things. All you got to do is turn that camera off and you're good. But, I also think you need to take the temperature of the room. I mean, I am someone who personally, I don't meet unless I absolutely have to. I asked my faculty, what do you prefer? And they all said Zoom. And if you
really?
Yeah. And if you did, if you sort of take the temperature of the room and figure out this is what people prefer, then by all means do that. Sometimes Zoom can be a much better place for people because, as I said before, sometimes when people are behind a screen, they say things that maybe they wouldn't feel comfortable to say in person. So they may be willing to say, hey, have you thought of this idea like this? Or have you thought of this, the consequence if we do this? Whereas if they were in person, they may not be able to say that. So it really just depends on your organization, who your members are, and also what they prefer. I mean, I am somebody that if we can do Zoom, let's do Zoom. Like, I don't.
But then there's the moment, oh, I thought I was muted.
Oh, yeah, always. And I will say, too, you also need to watch what you put in the chat, because that
stays there.
It does, but also even if you are privately messaging someone, the host of the meeting sees all those messages at the end. And so, I've heard, I have not personally experienced this, but I have heard of people who, you know, their significant other was also in the meeting and sent something to them, but the host saw it at the very end.
A personal note.
Yeah, a personal note. And so, you know, just keep that in mind as well.
No,
Yeah.
I got you. You know, and to me, it's more, the online thing is more of a time saver than anything. Like, for instance, in my real estate world, it allows being able to communicate through Zoom or any of those video platforms. I could have a buyer that is, I've done showings of homes using my phone, and they may be in another state.
Wow.
And, well, I can't get down there to see that house this weekend, but can you go show it to us, and we'll decide whether we want to come in person. So that happens. Well, and I had a situation just yesterday. I'm on a committee with the Middle Tennessee Association of Realtors, and I love being in the room when we have our committee meeting, but I had a busy day yesterday, and where we meet is all the way across town from my office. And so it was going to take me 30 minutes to get over, 30 minutes to get back. So it saved me an hour by just being able to jump online and do that. Now, on this show next week, the guest will be Sarah Harris, who works in the human sciences on campus. She's in nutrition and all that. Well, she has things going on Wednesday morning from 9 to 10. So we put next week's show in the can yesterday by doing it on Zoom. So we've got the audio, we've got the video, and that in itself, I mean, we do coaches post-game interviews on the radio using Zoom sometimes. So it is a tool that, and that has become effective, and it's, to me, it's way better than a phone call.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you can still see inflection, you can still see, you know, how people, you know, their facial expressions and all that. In another area of business, before we take our next break, let's talk about interviewing for jobs, because I'm sure that's something that you all do a great deal with students, is preparing them to interview. What are some great tips for people? Because, you know, we're seeing a lot of folks changing careers. Obviously, the university and all around us, we have new people coming into the workforce all the time. Right. Talk about interviewing and what are do's and don'ts.
So the first thing I always tell my students is you need to Google yourself. You need to do a search of yourself and see what is out there on you. A lot of my students don't believe me, but as we talked about before, you know, stuff you put online has a way of resurfacing. And a lot of people are like, oh, my profile is private. No one can see that. It's a third party. And so that information can be shared with other people. Or what if somebody took a screenshot of it, even though you deleted it? So you need to find out what's out there, and you need to clean up your internet footprint if you are looking for a job. I would say the second thing is you need to really research the company. You need to understand who you're writing to and what they are looking for in that job. So if you have I was grading resumes and cover letters yesterday, so this is fresh on my mind for my interviewing class. But, you know, when you are writing a cover letter or a cover email to people, you want to make sure that you have looked up their title and or their you know, Mr., Ms., what have you. You never want to use their first name unless they have explicitly told you to use their first name. And if you can't find it, you say, "Dear hiring manager."
Okay.
Yes.
Not to whom it may concern.
No, you need to say, "Dear hiring manager," or "Dear search committee," or whatever is there. You also need to make sure you cater your resume and cover letter to every job you're applying to. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I've created a resume, I'm done." No, you need to make sure that you are catering it to each job. So if you're applying to 2 jobs at the same company, you need one resume that has the keywords of one job and one resume that has the keywords and emphasis of another job. So it's not a one and done process with your resume and cover letter.
All right. Keyword here, commercial break, and we will talk a little bit more. There's a couple of things I want to ask you about that, but then we're going to get into family communication, and boy, she brought up a great topic earlier. They're matchmaking over there, and then we'll talk a little bit about that as we continue on the Wednesday Roundtable here on WGNS.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at wgnsradio.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Progressive knows road trips without your pet can be tough.
Hi, this is Next Stop Dog Boarding.
Hi, it's Scott again. How's Squeaks doing? You can tell if he's stressed by his eyebrows. Oh, and his breathing should sound like this.
Scott, Squeaks is exactly the same as last time you called.
Okay, let's talk in 20 to see if anything's changed.
With Progressive, your pet is covered up to $1,000 in vet bills in case of a car accident. So next time, you can take your pet with you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Coverage for dogs and cats is included with the purchase of collision coverage and subject to policy terms.
This message brought to you by the Central Tennessee Regional Solid Waste Planning Board. Visit RecycleRightTN.com for tips, ideas, and locations on where to recycle near you. That's RecycleRightTN.com.
Recycle right, it's all on you. Don't be trashy, recycle classy, recycle right, Tennessee.
Go to RecycleRightTN.com.
Recycle right, Tennessee.
This is Kirk Moe with Parks Auction. Don't miss your chance to own a piece of Murfreesboro history. An elegant colonial estate with 5 bedrooms and 5.5 baths at 2251 Middle Tennessee Boulevard. The auction will be October the 18th at 10 a.m. See you there.
Sign-ups are going on right now for First Shot's Winter Basketball League in Rutherford County. Coach Andy Herzer guides kids to sharpen basketball skills and build teamwork through exciting clinics and games. Since 2003, First Shot has empowered youth to grow in mind, spirit, and body. Don't miss out. Join the fun and develop lifelong skills. Visit FirstShotTN.org today and register for the Winter Basketball League. That's FirstShotTN.org.
Hey, did you see that crowd last week?
Well, it's the 50th season. What'd you expect? Fireworks?
Nah, just sweet corn and smiles.
This year marks 50 fresh, flavorful seasons at the Rutherford County Farmers Market at Lane Agri Park in Murfreesboro.
For 75 years, Murfreesboro Medical Clinic has been a cornerstone of health and compassion in our community. From our humble beginnings to the advanced, comprehensive care we offer today, our commitment to you has never wavered. With 8 locations across Murfreesboro and Middle Tennessee and over 100 physicians, we continue to provide the highest standard of care. Then, now, and always, your health is our mission.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Welcome back into the Roundtable here on WGNS. If you miss any of this, you can always catch it on the podcast section of wgnsradio.com. Mary Beth Asbury, Chair of Communication Studies at MTSU, joins us. Always brings the good info. And our last segment, we talked about business communications. We talked about resumes, and you talked about customizing resumes. And as far as cover letters, do cover letters need to be minimal, or do you need to write War and Peace with your cover letters?
So the cover letter is your chance to take a few things from your resume and expand on them. And they're also there to show how you meet the requirements of the job. So they should be very, very brief, 3 to 4 paragraphs at the most.
Okay.
In the first paragraph, you should say what job you're applying for, who you heard or how you heard about the job. Do you know someone, and name them, or was it on LinkedIn or Indeed? And then talk about how your education and your experience make you ideal candidate. In the next paragraph, you're going to want to talk about 1 or 2 things from your resume and talk about how those experiences directly relate to the job. A lot of people want to take a cover letter and write all these things about themselves, and it's like the company cares about themselves. So they want to know what you can do for them. So always pull it back to the job ad, always pull it back to the company. And then in your final paragraph, you want to reiterate your interest for the job and put your contact information. And a lot of people are like, I don't need to put my contact information. I have it at the top of the page in my heading, but you do not want to make people search
Put it
for
in
things.
there again.
Yes.
And do you put it in the signature?
You could do either.
Because that's what I typically do.
Yeah.
Like my email signature.
Right.
I kind of do something similar to that if I had a write a, and I actually do write real letters every once in a while. So.
It depends. So if it's virtual, then the email signature is fine, but make sure you refer to that. So please see my email signature for my contact information or things like that.
And I think this is really good info for people who may be of a certain age that might be changing careers, because what you talked about making your resume and your cover letter about the individual job, that's way easier to do now than it was like when I got out of college. I had 50 resumes that I took down to a print shop, that I got. So that didn't change, but I did change my cover letter some. But now, the way you talk about it, you can use you can customize. That's the word I was looking for. You can customize both your resume and your cover letter toward the individual position. Okay, what about using AI tools for not only your resume to sharpen it up, but your cover letter as well?
So I find AI to be useful in things like helping me with grammar errors, as well as finding the right words. And
what prompt would you give? You said check this for grammatical errors.
So you can use things like Grammarly and stuff like that. That's very helpful. MTSU, I think in the last 2 years, got a subscription to that, and that it will check your emails. It will check, your writing to say, hey, consider another word or things like that. And I have found that very helpful myself. But
I use Microsoft Copilot, which is very easy. Yeah. And it's super user friendly.
Yes.
And that comes in very handy.
Yeah. I would say when I have put stuff into AI, like when I have put my assignment into AI to see what would come out, including resumes and cover letters, I can tell you that for a lot of things, it gives you the bare minimum. And, and so it may give you some good words, it may give you some phrases, but you really need to go in there and make this sound like a human wrote it. Whenever I know a student has used AI on a speech, because it's a C speech. Every time it's a C speech, because it's the bare minimum. It's they meet the assignment criteria, which is what they put in. If you want,
could you put in your prompt, to hey, I need this to be at least a B plus.
Right. I think.
Give me some B plus writing here.
Yeah, I think you could. But from my experience, again, it meets bare minimum criteria, and I'm sure AI is going to get better. I'm sure things will change in the future, but right now, I would say use AI as a starting place, and then edit from there. I would also say one thing that AI is very helpful for with a job search is if you take the job ad and you put it into AI and say, give me interview questions. It will spit out a bunch of interview questions that are related to that job, and practice those and make sure you're prepared for that. And it's very helpful. You'll go into an interview a lot more confident when you do that.
Do you advise people generally to, especially if they're either new into the job market or haven't made a change in a long time? Do you advise them to practice their interviews with either their significant other or a friend from work or whatever?
Absolutely. You will feel more prepared. Your body will be less anxious if you have practiced before. And I mean, that's the same with everything, giving a presentation, etc., because it tricks your body into thinking you've already done this. And so you go in with more confidence. But also, be open to feedback. If people are like, this is not how you should answer that question, you need to be able to take that and make adjustments. And, I have interviewed for jobs, and I will print out questions, and I will go over them and over them and over them and over them until I know that if they ask something similar to that, I know in the back of my head how to answer it. Yeah. So, I mean, I find it very helpful.
Yeah. Well, to kind of wrap up the business part, as people move forward and go into the business world, what are the most in-demand skills, communication skills that you are seeing businesses wanting from graduates or people coming into their organizations?
One specific skill that you actually see a lot on surveys in the area of communication is listening. We have a whole class just on listening.
Do you really?
We do, because it is that important of a skill. And a lot of organizations say, people's attention spans aren't what they used to be. And so they're missing important details when we give assignments or when we are giving instructions. So learning how to listen, always know how to give a presentation, but I would also say in terms of communication skills, those soft skills, like you need to know how to give eye contact. You need to know how to shake a hand. You need to know how to have a conversation with people and, knowing what to share and what not to share and things like that. And those are things we teach as well.
Well, there's a reason the good Lord gave you one mouth and two ears,
That's right? Exactly.
All right. We've got 5-6 minutes left before we wrap up here. Time to dive into the most interpersonal communications we can have, and that is with our friends and family. And we talked about this last year, and you were here about this time of year, maybe a little bit later, as we were getting close to Thanksgiving, and you threw out the warning about don't screw up your family's holiday by coming in and being just a big windbag and full of bluster and starting up a bunch of crap around the holiday meal table.
Yeah. Don't give people indigestion. Yeah. Again, it's one of those things where not every thought in your head, not every opinion has to be shared at that time. So read the room and see what's going on. If everybody's talking about grandma's health and then you just all of a sudden launch into politics, that's not going to come off well. So yeah.
And sometimes that may be, and we're all guilty of this. You may have a TV on in the room and something pops up there and you have to make a comment about it. Well, that may not fly real well at the time, but I've seen friendships go away. I've seen family members not talk to each other. I mean, it's very sad because these are some of the most important people we have in our lives, and we need to communicate with them in a positive way.
Yeah, we one thing that has always been said in my family that we and it's at the end of the day, remember, you're still family. Like, we may disagree, we may have other views, but at the end of the day, that's your family, and always come back to that. When I taught family communication a year ago, I had one student that it seemed like everything his family did was just like the perfect way to handle things. I remember we were talking about conflict and how you deal with it. And he was like, yeah, we just make sure at the end of every conversation, regardless, we always end it with, I love you. And he was, and I will never forget at the end of the semester when I was like, okay, tell me one thing you learned. Somebody was like, well, I learned that he has the perfect family. And we were all like, yeah, that's, again, but what'd you learn from the class? But I always thought that was a great example to give, that like at the end of the day, remember your family, remember you love each other, remember that you appreciate each other and what you give to each other.
Yeah. So. And the thing, this family time that you're going to have at Thanksgiving and Christmas time, it is probably obviously those are going to be the largest gatherings that your family is going to have. I mean, Mother's Day, Father's Day as well, but typically Thanksgiving and Christmas, and that is when you're going to have more intergenerational people, and typically, the younger folks are going to be more progressive and the older folks are going to be more conservative. And so there are going to be opportunities and, talk about, let's go back to cat pictures and talk about the food and things like that, and leave the other stuff, for later on.
Yeah, I agree, and also consider the fact that, how old are people, you're growing up in a certain time and culture. They grew up in a certain time and culture. And so, things are going to be different and perspectives are going to be different. And, what may have been right 50 years ago may not be right now. And so, always consider, and I'm going to go back to what I said at the very beginning of the show, which is don't be reactive. Be thoughtful instead. So take a minute, take a breath. And then if you want to say something, do it calmly, take the person aside, don't call it out in public. But, always consider people are often a product of their environment, just like you are. And so, again, be thoughtful rather than reactive.
You can always disagree, but don't be disagreeable.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, as we get to the end here, tell us about this dating class you have. What's up with that?
So the class is called Romantic Relationship Communication.
Really?
And yeah,
this is amazing to me. Okay.
And
we had ag in our lives back in the day and learned how to cut up a chicken. So here we go.
And so we teach it just about every semester. Dr. Schur in our department, it's her specialty. And so, you start looking at relationships from dating all the way through marriage, divorce, and remarriage. So you follow the life cycle of relationships and you look at what to do and what not to do. You look at what are some red flags in a dating situation that will help you avoid things later on. We sort of do an intro to that in our interpersonal class. And I remember one time I had a student who said, my fiance and we have never ever fought. And I said, you've never disagreed about anything? And she was like, oh no, I figure that when we get married, I can disagree, and I was like, oh, let's rethink that for a second, and so we talk about things like, how to have healthy conflict. Like, it's okay to disagree. It's okay to, see things differently in those relationships, and sort of red flags that if you do have a disagreement, if someone is saying or doing something, maybe you need to rethink that relationship if those aren't positive things.
Does it go into how family communications, let's say mom and dad, things aren't going well there, about how to insulate the kids?
Yeah, so we also have the separate class on family communication where we get more into detail on that.
Right.
But, we talk about and we examine, what to tell kids, what not to tell kids, what to show. So one of the things we see that's actually helpful when a family is perhaps going through divorce is that the parents need to be a united front in front of the kids, right? So they can disagree all they want in private.
You see so many stories about how one parent tries to get a child to advocate for them,
right,
or and that's not good.
No, that's not good at all. We don't want to put the kids in the middle. And having when parents can come together and say, we need the kids to see us as, we agree about things regarding their decisions and their behaviors. It shouldn't be one parent is punishing you for acting one way and the other parent rewards it. That's going to be very confusing for a kid. Yeah.
When students come through and they have majors within your department, what jobs are they prepared for once they leave campus and have gotten their degree through the communication studies department?
So unless they have a very specialized field, like something like engineering or social work or something like that, you can get just about any job, because I usually tell people, I will give you $100 if you can tell me one job that doesn't need communication. Give me one. And, you can't. We always need communicators. So we have people go into HR. We have people go into law school. We have people we have people working at CMT. We have people working at the zoo. We have people working at one of our alumni ran a political campaign for a national for a senator for us.
I would say this would be also a great minor if you are either in political science or in business.
Absolutely. We do have a lot of political science minors and business minors, simply because we teach you things like persuasion. So how can you market things to actually hit people that will make them want to buy your product? And like salespeople, that's a really good thing for people to take. Yeah.
There you go. All right. Mary Beth Asbury has been our guest today. You're so easy to talk to. You're a communicator.
That's right.
There you go. All right. If you missed any of this, you can find it here shortly on the podcast section of wgnsradio.com. Be sure to join us today at 5 o'clock. Blue Raider football comes on the air. Kickoff at 6:30 tonight. The Blue Raiders against the Missouri State Bears right here on the Blue Raider Network and the Big G, WGNS. Have a good day, everybody.
Yay.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at wgnsradio.com.
Premier 6 Theater on Broad in Jackson Heights.
Let's all go to the movies.
Check out what's showing at murfreesboromovies.com. Popcorn popped fresh daily.
Movies at the good old premises.
Premier 6 on Broad in Jackson Heights.
When the unexpected happens, fire, water, or storm damage, Farrah Construction can help. Farrah Construction is also there to help when a car slams through the wall, and that seems to happen more often these days. I'm Ron Hall. Let our family at Farrah Construction help you. Call Farrah Construction and we'll board up, put down tarps, secure your home or business until the insurance coverage is approved. I'm Ron Hall. Shop local. Let our family business help you. Farrah Construction Company.
Life's too short to stress about insurance. That's why Ray Call at Rayburn Insurance is here to make sure you have the right coverage without all the hassle. He'll work hard to provide you with personalized service and finding the best solutions for you and your family. Whether you're looking for auto, home, or business insurance, Rick Hall's got you covered. Rick Hall at Rayburn Insurance Agency. Let him handle the details so you can focus on what really matters.
Hi, this is Trevor from Bell Jewelers. We just got in a new shipment of natural diamonds with very competitive prices. We carry the popular shapes like oval, marquise, cushion, radiant, and emerald cut. The cut is probably one of the most important parts of a diamond, and we are here to help you find the best diamonds for you. The sparkle of these excellent cut diamonds shows that nothing sparkles like a Bell Jewelers diamond. Come see us at Bell Jewelers, 821 Northwest Broad Street, across from Toots.
Folks, I hope you're listening every Sunday night at 8 o'clock to the Edwin Lee Raymer Show. We'll talk about some local politics, national politics, all types of topics, all types of guests. That's 8 o'clock Sunday night, Edwin Lee Raymer Show. Talk to you then.
Access Tennessee News. I'm Will Nunley. Results are in for the District 7 congressional race. Republican Matt Van Epps will face Democratic challenger Afton Bain. Van Epps won with nearly 50% of the primary vote in a largely Republican district. Van Epps received a presidential endorsement just days before Election Day. State Representative Afton Bain had a more narrow victory, earning 27% of the total vote in her primary. The two now face off in the general election on December 2nd. Dolly Parton's sister is asking for prayers in the latest update about the superstar musician. Frida Parton asked for prayer on a Facebook message Tuesday afternoon, saying that Dolly hasn't been feeling her best, noting she believes the singer will be okay, though. Parton recently postponed her Vegas tour, citing health challenges. She also missed the announcement on Dollywood's latest attraction, mentioning that she had kidney stones. More news in 30 seconds.
Aging well means staying healthy, active, and independent. To age well, we need to take care of our bones. 10 million Americans have osteoporosis, a hereditary disease that makes bones weak and more likely to break. Thankfully, we can all take simple steps to improve our bone health at any age. Eat a healthy diet that is rich in calcium and vitamin D. Get regular weight-bearing exercise, which means on our feet. Get bone health tips at pathtogoodbonehealth.org.
Charges have been dropped against former Knoxville and UT police officer Anthony Rizzo. He was arrested in Georgia last December on stalking charges, but prosecutors filed to dismiss the case in August, citing insufficient evidence. A related fugitive charge in Knox County has now been dropped as well. The court has sealed Rizzo's records, and details can't be released without a judge's order. Rizzo was fired from UT police after 7 months over alleged off-duty conduct in Georgia. He previously served with the Knoxville police until May 2024. Will Nunley, Access Tennessee News.
I'm on Deadman's Bend at midnight when my gas light pops on. I see a gas station ahead. Just my luck. Or is it? I walk in. The attendant lifts a bony finger towards me and croaks, "You want a Halloween jumbo box?"